Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 23rd, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I got. Well, I do not like that. And the philosophies I talk about are the exact same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into it, definitely a hats off to Storm for keeping the technology on this thing running. Rest assured, for me, that can be a challenge, or with me for that matter. We also have LA in the moon, LA in the moon, no, LA in the room, and she is the moderator that keeps things going, that keeps conversation going, or asks questions when no one else is. Stopping it from stalling. And then we have Eternity Eternal is in with the gold. So how you doing, Eternity? Glad you could join us. And Eternity says hi, Kira, as well.
Hi. Can't see me. Sorry.
Now, so from that standpoint, now I was actually misusing a word in particular. I was looking at spiritualism as a way to describe what we're looking at. But here's the neat little kicker to it. I looked it up on the internet. Now, apparently, according to dictionary on the internet, spiritualism is a system or belief or religious practice based on supposed communication with the spirits of the dead, especially through mediums. Okay, there's more to it, but I'm looking at just the primary. Then I looked at materialism, a tendency to consider material possessions and physical comfort as more important than spiritual values. Now, it turns around, it goes on with other things. Then we've got religion, the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. Okay, now that particular philosophy turns around and does it literally turns around and says consumerism is the new religion. Now, I look at spiritualism as literally, and this is where I was making the mistake, literally any belief in something other than humans as a guideline, as something to put your faith, your trust, your guidance in. Now, with that in mind, now what do we got here? Philip Blair is in. Philip, you are in with the silver. How you doing? When I looked at that, when I look at spiritualism, I was looking at it from the side of, okay, where are you putting your spiritual belief? Now, do understand that I've mentioned this before. Where it comes to God, I absolutely do believe wholeheartedly in God. Okay, but I believe in the Creator, the whole 9 yards. By definition, this makes me Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Christ. I'm not going down that road. Don't panic on it. But what I came to understand, because I decided I told my dad on his deathbed I would read the Bible cover to cover. Now, nice little fun fact. That's the Bible I grew up with. Okay. Now, I've read the entirety, page by page, of the Old Testament, and I've started in on the New Testament. The thing I've noticed is that virtually every religion I talk to people about, every belief structure boils down to the same thing. But the reason I brought up the materialism is because so many people in today's world are taught You gotta have stuff. Instant gratification. Let's get that stuff in a hurry. Okay. And you gotta ask yourself, is that really working for you? Now, myself growing up, I was very much a pack rat. Okay. You give me anything material, I'd hang on to it. I'm not an electrician. Okay. And I would pull stereos apart and salvage the bits and pieces. Philip, Philip's asking, do you have a favorite passage so far? I'll tell you what, that's one that I will answer if you drop me a private line. I'm not going to give you an answer to that at this point. Okay, not on air. Way too many potential problems. And like I've mentioned before, well, before I mention that, Renee, you are in with the bronze. How's it going? Glad you could join us. And that reminds me, I have to get in and go down that road. But, yeah, Philip goes, I'm more of a pack ape. I've decided that all the stuff that I've had in my life, very little of it actually has any functional value. Okay, but I am now going through it and eliminating a whole pile. The reason being, and the Egyptians never figured this out, you can't take it with you. But I saw a bumper sticker one day that was priceless. It goes, for those of you that believe that do not believe God exists, okay, that live your life as though God does not exist, you better pray you're right. Well, here's the thing that we know. Lots of people have died with belongings. Nobody has managed to take it with them. Okay. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. There's been a couple of cases. But, the reality of it, when we take a look at things, is when you put your belief and your whole focus on the material world, including on money, I will tell you, it creates a tailspin. Okay. And this is what we've got to derail. Now, this is why, and I've got to finish that off this week. We are on the 23rd. Yeah, I'm down to a week. This is why, when you look at your belief structure, whoever you're worshiping, whoever you're praying to, or whatever, take your pick. Okay, absolutely. I will tell you, prayer, positive affirmations, all of those sorts of things do work. They help you stay focused on the positive things going on around you. Okay, and yes, sometimes, a lot of times, material stuff will help bring a sense of comfort. But the reality is, it's what you're doing with it and how you're treating people that's going to really make the impact. One of the biggest things I have found, and this just applies across the board, whether we are talking your belief in a higher power or your belief in the almighty dollar, whichever one you believe in, understand that when you're treating people, if you treat them as equals, okay, you'll find you make much better headway. So it is one of these things that when we take a look at the side of belief and of the material world, or the corporeal world, if you will, what you're putting your focus on, make sure it is consistent for you. Remember, other people don't have to believe the same thing. The only variation on that is karmic law. Whether you believe it or not, it's like believing in gravity. You don't believe in gravity, it's still going to screw you up if you fail. So we're looking at a world where, in order to bring things back into balance, we've got to start looking at the material world as a world that, yes, we all live in, but not a one of you, including myself, by the way. Maybe I should say, no, definitely I should. Not a one of us is better than the next. Absolutely. People have different skill sets. Let's face it. you take Storm and his knowledge of computers, and you compare it to my knowledge of computers, and, well, there's no functional comparison of any value. Okay, that said, I've got my own set. And some of you believe, hold on, well, yeah, LA goes, we don't break the law of gravity, we break ourselves against it. There are certain belief structures that trying to defy them is going to cause you a headache. Okay, and by the way, you'll notice just like gravity, okay, just like gravity, the material stuff you hang on to doesn't care what you feel like. It's still going to be there. Okay, when you look at a belief structure and you're going, oh, my belief structure is better than you, it is than yours. It's akin to saying your opinion is wrong. And I will tell you, nobody's opinion can be wrong. That's the value of it. Okay, that's the nice part about it. But when you start treating people as your equal, not absolutely acknowledge the skill sets. Okay, my knowledge base is, shall we say, a little limited, but there are some fundamental truths that I have uncovered, and this is why I'm happy to say that we are halfway through the expansion of Races of the World. Okay, and again, many people have looked at aliens as gods. Point in fact, the Aniod and the Gadefni, okay, both have been looked at that way. Then, of course, you can go into the religion, and like I mentioned to people, if you desire to really discuss religion, I'm not doing it on this channel. Okay, spiritual belief on the whole, I absolutely will. And what we got to realize is when somebody is really locked in the materialistic world, how many people have you ever even heard remote hint of that on their deathbed said, oh, toaster of mine, or oh, copper frying pan, please save my soul? Have you ever heard of anybody even remotely doing that? Except one case. I knew of a chap when I was a kid that worshipped a light bulb. That ended badly. Okay, but when you look at belief, at who you're going to pray to, yeah, be my guest. Pray to who you will. Understand, no matter who you're praying to, okay, it isn't going to matter. Okay, you're still going to have to be the one doing the work. And I know that's going to upset some of you. However, that becomes an interesting issue. Now, like I've said before, I'm opening my mouth. Therefore, this is literally my opinion. Okay? And the answer to that question, no, I'm not about to discuss religion on the whole, as specifics, simply because of one little detail. Okay? I've already had my hand slapped by YouTube once. Their rules in here, their laws, that's what I have to respect. Just like if you're driving in a city somewhere, the rules of the road are the laws, and yeah, you're more than welcome to break them. But the consequences are pretty cut and dried. Operation Shutdown, how you doing? Yeah, Operation comes in. No worries. I don't worship light bulbs. I met a lot of people I do consider burnt out light bulbs, but I think that's a different issue. But when we take a look at the material world, absolutely have all the stuff you'd like. Lord knows I've got a staggering amount of it. Okay. And yes, I am getting back to, I've already gotten back to the painting side. But the material world, I like the comfort creature and the creature comforts. The fact of the matter is, I don't, there are many churches that won't even let me walk into the building because of my belief, which I find rather fascinating. Operation, that's just terrible. The reality of it is this: whether you worship an entity or a material thing, okay, you're still going to have to be the one to get up and make changes. I'm looking at my office here, and it's got a lot of clutter that's about to disappear overnight. Well, before the end of the weekend, I'll have most of the excess gone, and then I'll start refilling because that's my job for tomorrow. Okay, I'm looking at it going, I've got all this clutter, and what I do know is that when the energy is cleared, when the clutter's gone, energy runs more smoothly. And that's just the reality behind it. And what we have to realize as individuals is what you put your focus on. Okay, as Scrooge said in A Christmas Carol, people have to be our business. The money's got to come sideways. Now, he said people have to be our business. Okay, I'm telling you, if money is a primary focus of yours, do your best to shift it around where the materialistic side of the world is a side effect, not a goal. Because there will always be somebody with more. There will always be somebody with less. Okay, and it really boils down to how you're going to look at the world. Now, for me, I'm literally going through the different things I've got going on and questioning everything about the way my life has been going. Because let me ask you this: with your life, oh, nice. I appreciate the corroboration there, Operation. Operation has just brought in. He goes, I agree. Thanks to your streams, I am learning that when the clutter is clear, the energy moves more smoothly. Okay, I've been trying to do things one step at a time and help people by example to change things. Well, here's the kicker. One step at a time, isn't working. Okay, so we're doing it on a bit of a radical level at this point because I've had three lives turned completely upside down because of a combination of spiritualism and materialism. Spiritualism, in this case, referring to any belief structure, not just the belief in spirits. Okay, now when we take a look at that, if you're striving to make changes one step at a time, this is great. Theoretically, it keeps things organized. Unfortunately, it's kind of like removing a band-aid from a cut. You're easing it off one little bit at a time, and it takes forever to get it off. What we're about to do, effective this weekend, is I'm wiping out all of the clutter. There's a couple of spots that are already organized. My inventory wall over here is staying put. I don't have to empty it. There's a lot of stuff on it that does have to go. Okay, and with that in mind, it will go. So I'll get it cleared out. But we've been doing things one step at a time. Robert, glad to see you. Have not seen you in a while, but you are in with honorable mention. And Robert White is just adding here, when one roll of the wheelchair fails, then Kira.
Yes.
Robert White says howdy.
Hello, Mr. Robert White.
Yeah, Robert goes, when one roll of the wheelchair fails, then get a shovel to clear the path. So much better than a friend of mine. He used to use dynamite. I am very happy to see you here, Robert. And LA is literally echoing my personal opinion. when she says, "Welcome back. We missed you." Absolutely. Hopefully the healing is going well. And it certainly feels like you're in good spirits. The fact of the matter is that I've been trying to make changes and keeping things and disrupting as little as possible. Well, that's especially in my life. Now, I'm still going to do things one step at a time here. And do I have, well, I'll find out afterwards, because I'm not entirely certain what I did with it. As in, what the topic is. And hopefully Storm's got it sorted around me, listed somewhere, because I put my list somewhere, and this is why I've got to be careful, why I've got to get things organized. Actually, that might do it. I love trying to keep myself organized. I'll tell you, if Kira manages to do that, to keep my head and myself organized, we are way ahead of the game. Somehow I'm thinking that's not going to work well. Oh, look at that. What is tomorrow? Saturday. Oh, there we are. Looking at alien expansionism. That ought to be fun.
I think we looked at that last week.
Did we look at alien expansionism last week?
I believe so.
I don't know. That one falls under Storm's hand. Oh, that's right. We modified that. What is today? Oh, there we go. Should be what is Earth, and we'll verify that before the end of the show. But when you take a look at the material world, okay, if you're trying to keep things going well, if you're trying to do it with minimal disruption. Oh, there we go. A quick little update from Robert. The ankle is fully healed and been back to rehab a couple of times so far as well. That is really great news. Tell you, it felt like I dang near went through a real annoyance. Caught my toes on the door, felt like I broke 3 of them off. As it turned out, didn't quite. Oh, here we go. LA goes, so many things are interlinked here and flows into each other. Stuff that belongs in the living room is in the bedroom and so forth. We took laundry baskets and sorted the stuff as we did for each room, as we did each room. Essentially, I'm doing the same thing. The only difference is I've got cardboard boxes that I'm going to load up and ship into the one room that we're not going to be filling. But if you do try to do things one step at a time, there's no saying it looks worse before it gets better. Well, couple of things. From a materialism standpoint, get the clutter out of your primary operating room. Now, the office in any business, any home, is the brain. Okay, get the brain cleared. Okay. Now, in my case, the brain and the recovery room are all the same place. So, we're just doing a complete sweep. Where it comes to spiritualism, ask yourself this. Whatever belief structure you're following, whatever God you're worshiping, in your eyes, do you see your belief as better than other people's? Okay. Not do you aspire to it more? Okay. But do you feel yours is a better belief structure? I'm just going to throw this out there. For those of you that believe that spiritually speaking, believe God created everything, let us understand, many people that do that go, God created everything and God doesn't make mistakes. And then they turn around and go, here's things that are wrong, and my belief is better than yours. Problem. If God created everything, every spiritual belief, including consumerism and materialism, were created by him. You get to pick what you're doing with it. Okay. Now, I still like the creature comforts. I still like my stuff. Yeah, LA goes, when I used to paint for a living, a piece would look ghastly until nearly finished. Same thing with clearing the clutter. Absolutely. And this is why you contain it as well as you can. Philip goes, my clutter, a good portion of it, is very well organized in topical piles. I used to live in what amounted to a warehouse, and I could walk into any room, know which box to move to get into the box that had what I was looking for. What I found is if you can organize it, I find, and again, it's my opinion, when you can organize it to the point anybody can walk in and find what they're looking for, you've done it well. Okay. Same applies, by the way, to when you're aiming at striving to teach somebody what you know. Okay, and this is it. In simple terms, that's when you know that you've got it organized. Now, when I first went to explain the star drive, the oscillodiversification of the tritranslocation equipolarity, it took me 2 hours to explain it to somebody with a master's in astronomy and astrophysics, or not astronomy and astrophysics. Now I can explain it to people in 5 minutes if they've got a basic understanding of science and speak English. Yeah, LA goes, my system of belief is best for me. I'm not responsible for what anyone else believes or thinks. Absolutely true there, LA. And again, I'm talking about what has worked for me. This is why the newest book I've got that's just about to come out, which is Believe in Your Success and Follow Your Dreams, is what I've done to get my head on straight. And I figure it works for me. Many of the topics I've discussed with other people. And this is why I say, whatever your spiritual belief, remember, you desire somebody to respect your belief. It's absolutely critical you respect theirs. Okay, the nice part about it is where your opinion is concerned. My opinion, your opinion, everybody's opinion. Okay, nobody's opinion can be wrong at all. And this is one of the biggest things that Storm keeps an eye open for in the chat room, is to make sure that problem children don't begin feeling as though their belief is accurate, is more important. We have to realize that this world, on its current path, is in trouble. Now, I'm all for have whatever spiritual belief you have. Call it what you will. You want to worship something and you want to call it a peanut butter sandwich? Absolutely go ahead. But, as William Shakespeare put it, a rose by any other name will smell as sweet. By the way, so does a dung heap. Only it doesn't smell sweet. It's the other end of the scale. So we've got to start looking, if we desire this world to change, and personally I do. Okay, it's time to put the work into it. And this means, now, have your material stuff. Absolutely, I don't begrudge anybody that. Well, that's not true, I do. The people that are materially successful, when they turn around and are stealing from other people to become successful, those people that are doing the stealing, I absolutely begrudge. Now, Philip has just added here, I respect people who believe that I should be bullied and boiled and eaten, but I strongly disagree. I respect the fact that that's what they believe, but keep your hands off. Absolutely agree with you. Looking at that, when we take a look at past lives, I used to be a slaver at one point, and I had a firm belief nobody beats my slaves. It's kind of like I believe nowadays nobody burns down my house. I don't like that either. You know, I respect people that deal with that sort of thing. Okay, but I'm still going to treat them the same way I feel I should be treated if I'm doing that kind of thing. Now, the nice part about it is you can have materialism and spiritualism under one roof. You can absolutely look at all the trinkets, all the baubles, and go, I like all of this, and I believe in God. Let's face it, if God created everything, if Gaia created everything, if Nataj created everything, get the picture? Everything means everything. Yeah. Ellie goes, I don't know. I think I'd be tough and stringy. Remember, cooking technique is important. Absolutely. You know, and whatever you do, and this is just a hint to those of you that don't believe witchcraft is real. Okay. I watch, I've seen things before in the past that are just phenomenal. But if you believe witchcraft is real, just a hint, guys, don't try and burn the witch at the stake. This is not going to end well, especially if said witch is a specialist in fire. Okay. It's the same as as I saw in the bumper sticker. For those of you that believe, that live your life as though God does not exist, better pray you're right. Okay. For those of you that believe the material world is the be all and end all, treat it as such. And don't go wasting your stuff or treating people poorly. Because I'll tell you, if you believe your stuff is that important and you start treating people poorly, what you're going to find is those people are going to target your stuff. Okay. And I hate to tell you this, but stuff doesn't scream when it's trying to be taken. Yeah, LA goes, don't burn the witch's stake either. Yeah, that's not going to go well. The fact of the matter is, where it comes now, I like the way Whitney Houston put it, where she said, children are our future. Guess what, guys? There's not a one of you that I know of that is not a child. Understand, whether you are conceived what people call naturally, the old-fashioned way, or whether you are a test tube baby. Either way, in a dual gender in a dual gender race, every one of you has a mother and a father. You may not know who they are, but the fact you have a mother and a father means you're a child. Okay, the future is literally in your hands. The question is, do you desire a world where people look at the sticks and stones and the rocks, the little baubles and the pretty trinkets, and go, that's what makes you successful? The fact I've got $5 as compared to your 5 pennies, I'm better than you. People that live that way usually run into a problem the moment they lose it. Okay, personally, I think when they live that way, they've already lost it. But what was it? 20 years ago now, there was a fire. Really hard to believe it's that long. We had a fire in this city, in Kelowna, where I am. And the wealthy people, the ones that had all the material world of stuff in the world, they were in one part of the city. Now, here's the thing. At the time, we had about 100,000 people in the city. We evacuated approximately a third of them. Okay, but here's the kicker: the people that came from the materially poor end of the world of the city came out going, okay, I've got a couch. Come on, pull up a stump. We'll put you up until we can get you back home. Okay, the wealthy people, the ones that had all the material stuff, their houses went up in smoke. They didn't even know how to begin to talk to people to figure out how to survive. Okay, this is the thing. When you're looking at your belief structure, it will survive whether you, as a matter of fact, quite often I've found your belief structure gets stronger when the material world fails, not vice versa. Just something to keep in mind. Now, which way is the best way to go? Well, that depends on you. Okay, I am still very much a firm believer that karmically speaking, okay, there's 3 karmic laws I follow. Be true to yourself first. Okay, that means whatever your belief is, live your belief. Do not worry about whether other people believe it or other people accept it. Okay, just don't break the laws. It's not worth it. Law number 2, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Again, what that boils down to is this: when you're in somebody else's area, respect their laws, just like you desire people to respect the laws you've laid out in your own home. Okay, and then we have the other one: energy out, energy in. Remember, whatever you're putting out there, it's going to come back to you. Now, I know some of the people in the pagan religions will look at you and go, "Well, and they'll literally tell you, what goes out comes back threefold." Now, if that's the case, you might want to consider sending good vibes out, at least if you'd like your life to work well. If you're into that whole self deprivation and the self abuse and what have you, and you'll notice the term self. In other words, if you want to bruise yourself, that is up to you. But I'm warning you on one thing: there are some people that feel compelled to hurt themselves instead of hurting others. Now, on the one hand, that's not a bad thing, but I will tell you, I find it much less painful to bang my head against the wall than I do to bang my head against a pillow. When you look at the material world, have all the toys you'd like. Lord knows I've got enough junk. Okay, junk being to me that which doesn't have a functional purpose at this point and is simply taking up room. Now, when it comes to the materialistic world, if you're striving to change it in your life, okay, one thing to keep in mind: if you've got a bunch of boxes of stuff, ask yourself, in the last year, have you used that box and used the stuff in that box? Oh, there we go. Oh, LA. And LA is our resident, shall we say, knowledge base. And she is just clarifying threefold equals 3 to the third power, which is 27. Oh, she goes, 27 is not a good number to experience something, particularly if it's a bad thing. Yeah, now on the other hand, 27 is a great thing to experience if it is 27 times a good thing. Okay, think of it. If you've got $100 and all of a sudden it flips around and you got 2,700, if you're interested in the material world, this works out well. Now, what do I do with it? Now, we have here, I just am pulling up a calculator here because my other one died on me, I think. Here we go. 669 times 27. Whoop. Let's get rid of all that. 669 times 27. We do that, and all of a sudden we got 18,000 viewers. Okay, and you multiply that by still the 60, and we're looking at over 1 million people being affected. This is what we're aiming for. Okay, because there are so many people out there talking about spiritualism, talking about belief structures, talking about the material world, about money and how they have more, therefore they're better. Now, if that were the case, in all fairness, think back to the days of big families. Somebody with a dozen kids would have been considered better than somebody that had one. Okay. And in all fairness, it really boils down to how across the board you treat what you've got, as well as how you treat what other people have. This is ultimately, from my standpoint, if you're following a spiritual path, first rule of thumb: respect others. Do not impose your belief and say yours is better. Now, I've got a wide open door here as far as the way I look at the world. Okay. And there's a lot that I see that is not absolutely accurate. This is why I say, to the best of my knowledge, this works. But, as in the case of one particular religion, I found out my knowledge base was compromised. Okay, so I corrected it. Same as when I looked at the term spiritualism. I really had overlooked the fact that spiritualism is a direct belief structure. It's not an umbrella. Okay, and like not being an umbrella, it won't protect you from the rain either. But when we start looking at the world, okay, absolutely have your belief, have your stuff. Okay, and I'm a firm believer. When I take a look at the physical world, I like having a roof over my head. I really do. Okay, and solid walls. This is just one of those things I've thus far managed to avoid being without. But there comes a point where the material world has taken too much dominance, and the whole idea of instant gratification is a challenging situation at best. Point in fact, like I mentioned before, I played D&D Dungeons and Dragons since 1976. I am now finally through. I found a way to pass on a message to some people where change takes time. Instant gratification does not work on a long-term base. Yes, absolutely, there are times when it feels really good to get instant response to what you're aiming for. But when you're changing the way your world is going, understand it did not take you a day and a half to get there in all likelihood. There are certain cases where life can change just like that. Okay, it turns in a heartbeat into something else, and you've got to recover. Okay, now, 7 years ago, I had a stroke. Last week, funny thing about that 7 thing, last week, my brain kicked back into gear, and all of a sudden, as the song goes, I can see clearly now. In my case, it is not that the rain is gone. The neat part about it is what you're focusing on, what you're putting your energy into. Whether you are leaning on the side of, I'm going to believe in this spiritual path, and that's what I'm going to follow. Remember, as LA put it, okay, your belief structure works for you. It may not work for the next person. Okay, and this is a conversation I've had with Lord knows how many people. Okay, I sure as heck don't. But it really boils down to this. This is the way I'm living. It doesn't hurt other people. And this is why I say in the material world, I intend on having the best of the best. And I go, slow changes work and stay in place. Quick changes are temporary. Absolutely. I mean, you take a look at it. Okay, let's look at the big picture, shall we? You watch the slow, gradual shift of the continents. They've moved into various different locations. They're still there. Watch what happens when an earthquake happens. Pretty quick turn. Or when you have a forest fire. It happens overnight. Yeah. Philip goes, I can see clearly now. The brain is gone. I saw a post on Facebook the other day, right? This woman, she says, I finally figured out what's wrong with my brain. On the left side, there's nothing right. And on the right side, there's nothing left. Now, in my case, I still hear an echo when I try and figure out what I'm thinking. The reality of it is that whatever you're aiming at having your life do, it is up to you to get off your tail feathers and make it happen. Now, absolutely, when we look at the self-help books I've been writing, okay, you go to the top of the stream to the link there to buymeacoffee.com/inner voice, inner voice J. Try that again, shall we? buymeacoffee.com /inner voice J. You'll find all the books I've got available and ways to get a hold of me. And Nathan, welcome aboard. And he's got, hi everyone, listening and lurking. What, not working today? This is odd. Glad to see you again, Nathan. Things have gotten absolutely twisted around here, but hopefully things are going well on your end. The nice part about the way this world is it is not static. Now you see everybody sitting in one place, but humans are still on the whole a nomadic race. Okay, how many people stay in one location? Now, I'm pretty well set. I've been in the same building, in the same apartment for a decade. Okay, and I'm not looking at moving. But I still end up going out for a walk on a regular basis, just to see what the world's doing. And rest assured, I've done that more since my other half arrived in town. It's funny, when she goes back at the end of the month, odds are I'll go back into hiding. Probably not a good way to do things, but it works for me. One of the things we've got to remember when it comes to the material world, get the clutter out of the way. Your spiritual beliefs will actually become, and don't take my word for it, your spiritual beliefs will actually become more pronounced and more balanced. And I know that doesn't make necessarily a lot of sense. And boy, was that bad. It's not necessarily going to make sense to you that getting rid of them and getting the clutter out of the way is going to help you believe more. Okay, it's a question of energy flow. And again, I've done the work on my end, and one of the goals I've got in this life is to help people see, by example, how much things can change. Okay, and this is why I look at it. That's why when tomorrow, well, there will be some change by tomorrow. Okay. I don't know if I'll get the whole room emptied, but one thing is for certain. The clutter on that shelf behind me, that one right there, all of that is going except for what actually is staying, is actually being put in there. It really boils down to this. Take a look at it, clear everything, start over. So when you're emptying it, I'll be pulling everything out of the shelves, out of the drawers, and moving it elsewhere. Thank you very much, LA. Now, at the same time, and again, this is my belief structure. Okay. At the same time, I'm reading my copy of the Bible. Okay. And I'm down to just the last little bit. You see that? I don't know if you can see that. Okay. That little orange marker. The short side is all I've got left. Now, I'm going to finish reading that. It's probably going to be a few months yet. But I'm getting closer. And with that in mind, I'm doing that and concentrating on the material world. And here's the thing. Not here. Oh. Nathan goes, I just said, I'm clearing everything else. And Nathan comes up with, not the robot. You guys remember the show Dinosaurs? My first thought, not the robot, not the robot. Kind of like not the man, not the mama. You know, but no, Nathan, that's part of the superstructure I've got for the moment. So it itself will stay. Okay. But I will be clearing out the guts. But no, the actual robot itself, I will never forget the day that you pointed that out to me, because you were telling me I see a robot over your shoulder. And I'm going to show you guys something because of, ouch. If you take a look, let's see if I can do that. Follow my hand right up there. We have a set of eyes. We've got the body. Okay, the set of eyes is actually a Bowie knife. The body, that's the first hand-drawn picture of Jeremiah Wollstrand from the Ildebakian Chronicles. Then we have over there, that is the physical lighthouse on the back of the self-help books. And by the way, that's the arm. On the other arm, over here, we have a globe. Okay. What is on? Oh. There we go. We have a globe here. There's now arm number 2. Then we get down here, and we've got a set of drawers. Those are what I see as the legs. So he's a short little guy, but what the heck? But no. As soon as that got pointed out to me, I was looking at it going like, wow. It really does. And there's no saying, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Okay. Renee's just going, looks like a robot to me. Now let's see and not see the robot up there. I've tried. Yeah, I really have. I made the effort. And it's like, wow. Well, it's there. And it has become a part of, we'll call it a display, but, okay, everything else back there is getting moved around. If I could figure out how to zero it in, and I like that. Nathan goes, it's the robot of positive perceptions. And yeah, it really is. You'd almost want to call it a mascot. And that's your fault, Nathan. So, and usually fault is a negative. So we'll call it, that is Nathan's contribution to the backdrop of positive perceptions. Okay, because until he pointed it out, I didn't see it at all. Yes, that's getting a little sidetracked, but that's okay. This is materialism at its finest. We got a bunch of material things, all of their own importance, but combined, they paint another picture. And Nathan goes, I'll own it. This is what I mean by it's all collected, all connected. We got, a picture of gaming. We've got the lighthouse of the Believing Your series. We've got a globe indicating that this is a world. Okay, it is a combined world. And that little orange thing down here, okay, this is a throwback to my childhood, because that is a coffee cup, necessary coffee cup, but that is a coffee cup from a place called Bedrock City, which I'm pretty certain some of you guys my age have been to, or you recall it. And then of course we have the Bowie knife. Well, that is a whole other ball game. But again, it's all connected. Also, by the way, there is going to be a change in the material world again. This over on the back of that door there. Okay, that stuff is going away. And the covers of the Ildebakian Chronicles are going to end up on there. Oh, noticed that. I didn't actually keep that door open or closed, you want to call it. Now, where are we here? Blue, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Caught us right at the tail end, but I'll tell you, Blue, really like the fact you popped in. Okay, now, oh, look at that. We are down to the 5. And tomorrow, I did find the order here. Okay, tomorrow we are dealing with literally what is Earth. Okay, we're going to take a look at what this planet really is, aside from a massive connection. Okay, it's a place with a lot of where we can either make this heaven on earth or hell on earth, your call. Now, sorry to tell you guys, but to my understanding, I forget where it is, but somewhere in the southwest United States, if I recall correctly, is a little town called Hell. Okay, and my understanding is that back in the Civil War, when somebody got buried in a shallow grave, it was considered hell. So whether we want to turn this into a paradise or into an absolute conflagration, that's your guys' call. My world, I'm not too worried about what the outside world sees, but in my world in here, I'm getting the best of the best, and for me, this is why I no longer have a girlfriend. Okay, a little about what, almost 6 months ago now, I lost my girlfriend. She became my fiance. And I'll be danged if I'm going to lose her if I can get around it. Renee, thank you so much for dropping in. Really happy to see you. Now, with all that said, guys, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Tomorrow, we discuss. Philip, I honestly don't know. You'll have to look that one up. Philip goes, is hell on Route 666? I don't know. But tomorrow we are going to discuss what is Earth. Okay. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.
I'm sorry, Keith. I've got to add something real quick here.
Absolutely.
Philip Blair said, is hell on Route 666? Actually, Philip, Route 666 is a highway in New Mexico. It does actually exist. And I have decided that that is the home of the oh, now I can't remember what it was called. The suicide assisting doctor.
Oh, okay. I know Dr. Kevorkian.
Kevorkian. The Kevorkian Memorial Clinic, Tire Center, and Hair Salon. It's an immediate right turn off of southbound Highway 666, which is a 2,000-foot straight drop.
Whoa. Well, make sure you take a parachute.
I made a commercial back when on the Hazy Radio days for the Kevorkian Memorial Clinic, Tire Center, and Hair Salon. It was part of our joke program, but hey, it's actually here in New Mexico, and yeah, it's it's not a good place to ride. Yeah, Nathan, you probably remember that too. I think you were there when I did some of that. But I just had to add that before the end of the show. So that being said, thanks everybody for listening, and we're just gonna play on out of here.